Hello, everyone. My name is Derek Weber. I'm the principal at Westover Middle School. I'm making this video to kind of address some concerns and skepticism we've been getting from parents and other stakeholders in our community about the Iowa Core. So this is just more of an informative presentation here, just to kind of give you guys, some maybe some reasoning why we're doing what we're doing. And hopefully we come to some kind of understanding and some kind of compromise, really. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here with you guys. All right, so a lot of this is just informative, and we'll try to address some of those concerns and talk through those just a little bit. So, obviously, we're going to talk about the Iowa Core. Um, just a quick agenda here. The first thing we want to do is identify some of those concerns that we've been getting from you guys, and maybe hitting some of those points directly, and maybe some of them we don't hit directly, but we at least acknowledge that, hey, we hear you, we understand, and we are taking these concerns seriously. Number two is actually some information about the Iowa Core. Number three, some of the history of the Iowa Core. I think that's important to, to kind of gauge a timeline of when this stuff has kind of been implemented. Number four, why should we follow the Iowa Core here at West Delaware? Number five, what subjects does the Iowa Core cover? Number six, talk a little about effective instruction. And then seven, the six outcomes of the Iowa Core. So again, the first thing we're going to kind of hit on some of these concerns that we've been hearing. The first one is that it's less rigorous than some of the previous standards. In that, I think that kind of depends more so on the teacher. We didn't really have a set bunch of standards that we've been going off of. That's kind of what we're going to the Iowa Core, and what the Iowa Core kind of provides. It gives us this framework where we can all have those essential standards, what we call them, those standards that we believe each student needs for each grade level at each subject. But we have heard that people think that these standards aren't quite as rigorous, and I politely disagree, and respectfully disagree as well. The second one, there's such a focus on standardized testings. That is something that we are grappling with too. We understand that, but we also need to think that standardized testing is important. It is something we test on. It's something that does get reported out. It can affect some of the funding we receive from the state. So even though it's not something that we all, in our hearts know is the best thing, it is something we have to deal with. So we are just kind of playing the game, and making sure that we are focusing on those standardized testings, even though we don't always like them as much as we should. Next one, a difficult transition for the students. Yeah, it can be. There's a lot of things that are happening when we implement the Iowa Core. Curriculum changes, and the teachers have to change the way they teach. The students have to change the way they learn. We understand that's a big change, and we're understanding that. Educator attrition, and then the last one, costly material. Whether it's technology, new curriculum, new textbooks, we get it. Those things are expensive, but we do think that these things will pay for themselves in the long run. So just some information about the Iowa Core. There is a link up there on the website. You can go read on this all you want on your own time, if you don't get what you think you need from this presentation. And this is directly from the Iowa Core website. It says a great school system begins with a clear and rigorous set of expectations or standards that educators help all students reach. In Iowa, those academic standards are known as the Iowa Core. The Iowa Core standards describe what students should know and be able to do from kindergarten through 12th grade in math, science, English language arts, and social studies. The Iowa Core also sets learning goals for the 21st century skills in areas such as financial and technological literacy. The Iowa Core is a set of common expectations for school districts across the state. It is not a curriculum, so decisions about how to help students meet learning goals remain in the hands of local schools and teachers. I highlighted that because I think those are both important points. That first one I highlighted, it's a set of common expectations for school districts across the state. If we are all following the Iowa Core, all the schools across the state, we are ensuring that our district is aligned with what other districts are doing. Because in the past, our school might be covering something that's not being covered in another district, and vice versa. Okay, so there's a discrepancy there. We're not hitting those same things. This way, it makes those norms across the state, so that way we're all on the same page with what we're teaching. And then the second part, it's not a curriculum, so decisions still kind of remain with the schools and teachers. I think that's important too. Just because we're moving to this doesn't mean we don't have power to make decisions and still make our curriculum individualized for our students. Okay, we can still make decisions that don't affect everyone the same way. We don't have to follow what one school is doing just because we both follow the Iowa Core. Another slide says these clear, consistent standards can provide peace of mind to parents, teachers, and other stakeholders who want students to have the best education possible. The Iowa Core sets appropriate expectations for all students, regardless of where they live or what district they attend, and reflects the real-world knowledge and skills students need to graduate from high school prepared for college or to enter the workforce. And that last part I really wanted to highlight because I think that's really what we all want. We want real-world knowledge. We want to give our students skills that they need to graduate to high school prepared for college or that workforce. I mean, that's really the bottom line of school, right? We want them to be prepared for whatever is next when they graduate, whether it's college or the workforce. We want them to have those skills ready. Just some of the history. I won't touch on all of this stuff. You can always pause this video and read the whole thing or go to the website itself. But it began with a legislative effort to set consistent expectations for high schools across the state. So it kind of started with high schools and it's kind of trickled down into the lower and elementary levels. So there's some different files here, different numbers that you can always look up on your own time. As Iowa worked to develop and implement the Iowa Core, a group of states led by their educational chiefs and governors joined to develop a set of common standards in ELA and math. These standards, called the Common Core State Standards, were designed with three principles in mind. The standards had to be based on evidence of college and career readiness. We kind of hit on that. They had to have a focus to give teachers the time to teach and the students time to learn, and they had to maintain local flexibility and teacher judgment. Drafts of the standards were released in November 2009, and a final draft was issued in June 2010. So this has been, 10 or 11 years in the works. So why should we follow the Iowa Core here at West Delaware? We can ensure our students are learning specific content areas that students around the state and nation are also learning. So if we're following these standards, the Common Core standards, we're ensuring that students are learning what other students are learning across the state. And honestly, the nation too. There's the Iowa Core, and then there's also that Common Core. The Iowa Core and Common Core are very similar. They're a little bit different, but they're mostly the same. Next thing, following these standards sets an expectation of what content to cover. I think that's more for our teachers and for us as administrators, making sure the students are getting those right things, because it can be kind of intimidating. We've been teaching these same things for decades and decades, but I think new teachers coming into the field too, sometimes there's a little bit of confusion on what am I supposed to cover? Where are these guidelines at? These benchmarks, these standards kind of give us an idea of where we're going with our content. If implemented with fidelity, it will lead to greater student achievement. That's really the bottom line. We want our student achievement to go up. So there's research that says these essential skills, these essential outcomes are what we're looking at. And if they're done with fidelity, if they're done correctly, then it will lead to greater student achievement. Students are able to clearly understand what they are learning. We have I can statements, we have proficiency scales, we have I can statements and objectives, all these things that are going to be posted in the classroom every day. The students know what to learn. They're not just learning it that day and forgetting about it. They can identify it, they can see it, they know where to look to identify what that objective is. It outlines research-based teaching strategies that will assist in learning the essential concepts and skill sets. It allows students with high mobility to receive a consistent education. Something we see here at West Delaware is kids moving in and kids moving out quite frequently, and it gets even more prevalent in bigger cities. But this way, we can ensure that those kids that are moving around a lot aren't receiving super different instruction. They're probably at least getting something similar. They're kind of picking up where they left off, hopefully, where it used to be if you moved, you could be learning about one thing and then switch to another school and you never even hear about the thing you learned at your previous school. So hopefully that should fix itself with the Iowa Core. So what subjects does the Iowa Core cover? The big ones, we got language arts, your math, science, social studies, and more new than the other ones. So 21st century skills, your employability skills, financial literacy, health literacy, technology literacy, and civic literacy. We always talk about how important it would be for people to know how to find jobs, to figure out how to file taxes and all these different things. And this is what those 21st century skills are hitting on. Some people might make the argument that 21st century skills are the most important out of those. Okay, so those are the areas that the Iowa Core cover. So effective instruction, if the Iowa Core is implemented with fidelity, it will create an environment where we can foster effective instruction. There's this handout right here that we will hit on the next slide, but you can find this handout on the Iowa Core website. So like I said, we're going to talk about in this slide here. So the first thing was student-centered classrooms. This is one of the characteristics of effective instruction. Student-centered classrooms, we're able to focus more on collaboration. Those students can work together and bounce ideas off of each other to come up with solutions. And we're going to focus less on lectures. So it's not the teacher up at the front of the room just talking and teaching while the kids are just sitting and listening. Next one, teaching for understanding. It's not just to pass the test. Okay, we want to make that learning really grounded, and not just something that they learn for the test, pass the test, and then they never use it ever again and never remember it. We want to move past that where it becomes more ingrained and it's more applicable to their life. Third one, assessment for learning. Teachers provide feedback and make adjustments to ongoing teaching and learning. Rigor and relevance. Lessons are demanding and challenge the students. So it's really upping that rigor, upping that challenge for the students. Lessons are practical and applicable to students' lives. Again, that's how students learn best. That's how we learn best. If something is practical to us, it makes learning a lot easier. And then the last one, teaching for learner differences. We're reaching all students regardless of background and ability. That's one thing that's beneficial about the Iowa Cores. It makes differentiation a little easier because we can identify what those objectives are, and we can help every kid a little better this way. These are the 6 outcomes of the Iowa Core. Outcome 1 is leadership. Outcome 2, community. Outcome 3, schools. Outcome 4, alignment. 5 is professional development, and outcome 6 is instruction. And then this is also another handout from the Iowa Core. Like I mentioned earlier, leadership. Outcome 1 is leadership. This is school leaders build and sustain system capacity to implement the Iowa Core. Outcome 2, community. Community members and other supporting agencies work together to support the implementation of the Iowa Core. Schools are outcome 3, a continuous improvement process to improve teaching and learning is used at the district and school level. Outcome 4 up here in that top right is the alignment. District, school leaders, and other educators monitor and use data to increase the degree of alignment of each and every student's enacted curriculum and other relevant educational opportunities to the Iowa Core. And then professional development is outcome 5. It's educators engage in professional development, focus on implementing characteristics of effective instruction, and demonstrate understanding of essential skills and concepts. And the last one is instruction and assessment. Educators implement effective instructional practices to ensure high levels of learning for each and every student. So these are those 6 main outcomes that we're hoping to achieve with the Iowa Core: leadership, community, schools, alignment, professional development, and an assessment. So this is the source you guys can go to, the iowacore.gov. This is where I got all my handouts from, a lot of the information, those quotes from earlier, the history behind it. We're glad that you guys came to us with all these concerns because we enjoyed talking about it. And we really want to hopefully put your mind at ease. We want to put your mind at ease. We want to put the students' mind at ease. We want to put teachers' minds at ease, that we think this is something that's going to be, a permanent change across the board for every school. And we really look forward to implementing it and seeing where it takes us. So thank you guys for listening. Again, reach out if you ever need any more questions answered from myself or any other member of our school board. Thanks for listening. We'll see you later.